today's topic is violent video games versus Hinduism. Okay, so here we go. Now, this is very specific to India as a country and the Indian culture as such. Now, considering the fact that most of you Indians watching this video are probably Hindus by nature, and what I mean by that is actively practice Hinduism, and you believe that whatever is being said in the Hindu scriptures are factual for that matter, and you believe in any of the thousands of those Hindu deities out there, right? And you go to the temple, if not regularly, at least occasionally, and you pray to Hindu gods, right? Now, here's a question for you. Now, if you are a parent, and if you are practicing Hinduism, wherever you are, India, elsewhere, right? Now I understand that a lot of you are concerned about the amount of violence that is out there on television, and specifically, so to speak, most of you are up in arms against violent video games. You know, the kind where, the awesome kind where you rip somebody's arms off their body and then use that very same arm to beat them to death. Stuff like that. Cool stuff. So, here's the deal, right? Now, from where you guys come from, I understand your concern in terms of showing graphical images and examples of violence and making it appear pretty cool, and that influencing your children to the point that they are now convinced that violence is okay, and they themselves are now convinced enough to go ahead and practice some kind of violence. I mean, whatever that kind might be. It could be like a simple school fight, or maybe go ahead and, you know, demonstrate and fling stones at a bus or something, which is pretty frequent in our country, right? But here's the deal. If you agree that showing graphical content and showing violent images and violent videos and telling children violent stories is in fact going to influence them and convince them that violence as an ideology, as a concept, is perfectly okay, and then, you know, make them indulge in violence themselves, have you actually thought about restricting your children from entering any of the Hindu temples? At least, you know, 90% of the Hindu temples, at least the moderately large or the big ones in nature where you'd have a lot of artwork. And the reason why I asked this question is very simple. Hindu temples are never short of violence and graphical images. I am pretty damn sure if you walked into a temple right now, you could probably see an image of, you know, Kali or Devi with all of her 10 glorious arms and 10 different weapons in all 10 arms, and she's usually found, you know, her foot in someone's neck, and there's a spear that's stabbing a demon, and then there's another hand which is basically, it's got a big sword and it's gonna behead that demon that is lying at her foot, and things like that, right? Now, if that is not graphical enough, and if that is not going to convince your children to indulge in violence, which is the case right now. I'm not sure when I read the last time as to an Indian kid carrying a sword to class and beheading someone, or, you know, grab a trisulam from the temple and then stab someone to death, and then go ahead and claim, you know, I saw goddess Kali or Devi do this, so this must be okay. So how do you think that violence in Hindu temples is comparably okay but violence in video games is not. And the reason why I ask this question is very simple, because when you are playing a video game, you know for fact that you are dealing with an imaginary entity which is not real in nature. You know that you are watching a story and you're playing a part, and that you are involving yourself in an activity which is basically just for fun, which isn't really the case when you step into a temple, because if you're a Hindu, you have to believe factually that, you know, gods with 10 or 20 arms existed, and demons which were tyrannical in nature and brought trouble to the people existed as well, and that this god actually killed this demon in a violent manner, which is actually a historical event that happened, you know, thousands or hundreds of thousands of years ago, which is usually what most Hindus claim if you ask them for a timeline as to when these events happened, and that these are all factual in nature. Now, what that brings to the table is that you are telling your children, or anyone for that matter, that if a person of so-and-so nature is going to bring so-and-so kind of trouble to the vast majority of the population, it is perfectly fine for a good entity like a god or an angel or someone following that god or an angel to actually violently and grotesquely kill someone in such a fashion, which is completely okay. So if justifying that is okay, then why is that, you know, shooting an alien with an imaginary plasma gun in a video game not okay? Now, some of you might argue there are video games which wherein you play the bad guy. You know, playing the bad guy is the central character, the theme of the video game. Like, for example, Grand Theft Auto, wherein you're supposed to steal automobiles and, you know, involve yourself to be a drug dealer of some sort, whatever, right? Now, fair enough, but that's also the case with religion as well. In religion, plenty of times you have good guys going berserk mad and then doing a lot of stupid things. Take Lord Shiva, for example. There are different versions of the story, but I will stick to the most decent version. The version of the story is that he was probably meditating, and then his son, Lord Ganesha, interfered, and he was very angry, and then he beheaded him, and then, you know, he went out into the forest and then kind of glued the head of an elephant into himself, and, well, that's the elephant god, Lord Ganesha, right? Good story, entertaining, but again, you have a good guy who is beheading another good guy simply because of the situation in which those individuals were in at that point in time. Same holds water for a lot of other stories in the Hindu mythology. For example, there's always a story of a very, very important big saint who's meditated a lot and who has almost the same kind of powers, or at least like half or 1/10 of the power of the creator, the god himself or herself, or whatever it is that you believe in, and somebody interferes and disturbs the saint or the sage in their meditation, in their prayer, and then they curse this individual with a lot of pain for the rest of eternity or for their life, and then you got to do stuff to get out of that curse, or, you know, lift that curse. So, you know, the equation kind of balances itself. So here's the question: if you think that you should censor, ban, or remove or restrict your children from playing video games which are violent in nature, because that sort of a violence can convince your children to involve in violence themselves, why shouldn't you not restrict your children from entering holy places of Hindu worship? Just a thought. Perhaps I'm missing something here. Please enlighten me. Post a response video or comments down here, and I'm all ears. Thank you. Peace.